Hello, everyone. Good evening. For those, if it's not, morning for y'all. My name is Jaquise Moore, and I am the host of this awesome page, Learning with Jasmine. If you have followed me today, this is our second presentation today, and I am super excited. Like I was, yes, was I like I was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's interesting because we were just talking about on offline. Well, okay, I'm going ahead of myself. I am not a doctor. Let's put it like that. I'm just a mom who have a child with autism, and this is a safe place, you guys, uh, to vent, to be transparent, to collaborate, and this is where we are right here, you guys. I just I was just telling Camille that, it's just like people just have come in my corner with Learning with Jazz, and I'm just super excited. I was shout out to Autism Us, and posted about a presenter who's going to be, who's I'm not going to say what she does, so and she'll let her introduce herself, but was doing a presentation, and I was like, oh yeah, I that is me. I usually am a facilitator, but now I want to be the student and learning and some other stuff and learning some more strategies. And after I heard her speak, I was like, oh yes, definitely, it is a must. I have to have her on the show, and I'm so happy that you're here. And you introduce yourself, and we can get started.
Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yes.
So my name is Camille. I am a board certified behavior analyst. Now, if you don't know what that means, we're basically the experts in the field of behavior science. So I've studied the science of behavior for nearly a decade. I've worked at ABA companies. I've worked with so many different parents and children with autism. So I have a little brother with autism. So that's kind of how I, started. I didn't really start that way. He came into our life after I had already started, working in the field of applied behavior analysis. So it was a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I recently launched my own parent coaching business for children with autism. So basically, I work with autism parents, and I kind of just give them the strategy so that they can, live their lives the best way they can. So that's what I do. I'm extremely passionate about it. I love talking about just, breaking down a behavior and figuring out a solution. Because as you know, if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. Everyone is so different. So all of the strategies will be different based off of, what the situation is. But
Yes.
yeah, so I am here tonight with
We're gonna be flipping our hair like this, you
yes.
guys. It's over.
I can't handle it. Sometimes it's just everywhere. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do. I love to do it. I'm so passionate about it. I get excited with every single client I work with. So
Awesome. All right, you guys, I'm trying to tell you. And so I saw your presentation last week, and seriously, you guys, I told Camille we have to get her back on. I already just told her like offline, because I think this is so important when you were talking about behaviors. And I know this is like not on our notes, but can you kind of like break down the 4 functions of behavior and kind of explain, and then we can go on to our notes.
yeah, definitely. So it's kind of hard to explain, what the 4 functions are in behavioral terms, but I don't like to do that. I just like to explain it, in a way that everyone would understand. So
Mm-hmm.
basically the 4 functions are just the reasons why. So typically there's 4 reasons why people in general do things or do what they do. So one of the first reasons why could be which this is the biggest one, the biggest one, but not the most common. You'd be surprised. So attention is definitely that one that a lot of people like to default to. So, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Well, there's certain patterns that you have to identify to see if that is the case. So attention can look different for everyone. It could be attention in the form of, I just want you next to me. I just want you to watch what I'm doing. It could be attention in the form of, I just want you to talk to me and have a conversation with me.
Right.
It could be attention in the form of reprimands. So if that's the type of attention that, that person is used to getting, then, they engage in some of those same behaviors to get that attention, even if it's a reprimand. So I worked with a lot of parents, when we first start working together, I hear a lot of, don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. And the kids, they continue to do it. And sometimes they're laughing and it's just
or smiling with a smirk on your face. I'm like,
100%, 100%. Yeah. And then once we kind of break down what attention is looking like and how to teach our kids to get at that attention in an appropriate way, it just all kind of, clicks together and makes sense. So attention is one of them. Another one, so these next two are probably the most common. So one reason why someone might do something is because they want to get out of something. So they're in a situation they do not want to be in. And this happens to all of us. So this is probably one of the most common for me recently. So, just being on the phone a lot, it gets draining.
Right.
So then when someone calls and it's like, my mom's called for the 10th time today, I'm just sitting there like trying to get her off the phone because I'm trying to get out of that situation because I just want to relax. That's just a simple example, but that's pretty common. And you'll see it more often when you're telling the kids to do something that they don't want to do.
Right.
So eating their vegetables, that's a pretty common one, having to take a bath, all of those things that they don't want
doing
to
their
do.
homework, doing their schoolwork. They might, have a little moment that time, oh, let me throw myself on the floor. Let me have a meltdown because I don't want to do it yet. Guilty as charged.
Exactly. Yeah. So that one you'll see pretty frequently. That one even more than attention, right? So and the thing is you can see them combined together. So you might see, oh, I don't want to do this thing because I'd rather be with mom doing something else. So you'll see a combination of them. And then the third one is you're wanting something tangible or wanting to do something. So this is pretty common with iPads. As soon as you take that iPad away, it's, the whole world is just crumbling down. It's the end of the world. Because they want that thing.
I'm going to do Learning with Jasmine, interview. And after I'm finished, it'll be 8:00. It'll be almost time for bed. And she looked at me like, okay, mommy.
Yeah.
So you guys, prayers and for much.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of funny to like talk about, but then in the moment you're just like, oh, I know the cues. I know what's going to happen. Yes. I know exactly what's going to happen right after. So that face that she gave you, it's just like, okay, I know what's coming.
Yes.
Which is the most important thing, finding those patterns to see. So, okay, I know how to prepare for the situation.
Right.
So I know how to diffuse that situation a lot easier because I know it's coming. So, so wanting to do a certain activity, wanting to do a certain thing, or wanting something specific. So Halloween just happened. I'm sure a lot of parents are fighting with their kids about no more candy. So that's definitely, you might see a lot of behaviors around when they're denied something that they cannot have.
Okay.
So that's the third one. And then the fourth one, so this is common in every single person, regardless if they have autism or not. And this is more of like a sensory type of reason. So I'm doing this thing because it feels good. I don't care who's around. I don't care who's not around. It's just me and myself, and whatever behavior I engage in, it's because it feels good. So you'll see a lot of that with the repetitive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the kid, a lot of kids have a lot of different repetitive behaviors.
Right.
For my brother, he doesn't necessarily, flap or jump or hum or rock or anything like that. But for him, it's repetitive speech. So saying something over and over, no one has to be there. Sometimes the words or the sounds, he just likes to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll do some of that. And that one is the hardest behavior to intervene on because, like I said before, it doesn't matter who's there, it doesn't matter who's not there. They're doing it because it feels good to them. They like that type of feeling, whatever
Right.
the behavior they're engaging in, that's something that they want to continue
That's
doing.
interesting how you just put it, because I've learned about the four functions of behavior. And it's something that she does, and it's a little bit more FYI moment, I mean, more TMI moment. So I don't want to put it on live stream, but there's something that she does like, that actually might be that issue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll kind of notice too, those behaviors happen more often when people are not around, or even if they have everything that they want, they have all the attention that they want from their people, the people around them, they have all their favorite toys, but if they're still engaging in that behavior, it's probably because it feels good to them. It's just a sensory.
Hmm.
So yeah, those are
Okay.
the four functions of behavior. I can
Okay.
go all day about them because
I
it's
told
so
you you would come
relevant.
back here, I'm so serious, you guys. The four functions of behavior, when I first found out about that, was right after Jasmine started ABA therapy, which was like I would say June. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like I literally was talking to her ABA therapist today. I was like, from the person you saw in June to now, she's like, yes, you have come a long way. Because I had to identify the four functions of behavior. Now I can identify it. Strategies come right away, redirecting, giving her choices, all of that, like within seconds. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like, woo, go ahead, girl. But I mean, it's just like I had to get to that point. So thank you for clarifying. All right. So, we're going to be talking about two topics. Part one with Camille. I'm trying to get her in December, you guys. That's how much I know. And then, of course, Camille, you're going to talk to us a little bit later about your program, your email, what's going on, whatever. But describing the types of parenting, like what types of parenting? What is that? So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is something that more recently I've done a lot more research on because in my training, in my practice, in my schooling, this wasn't something that was talked about. So when you're going to school to be a behavior analyst, they don't necessarily teach you how to use the principles for a specific niche. So you do that with your training in the jobs. And most often, people associate ABA with autism.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever, people go to school to be behavior analysts, they can, literally do whatever they want to do. But with ABA, it's kind of like, usually when you go to school to be a BCBA, you're probably going to work for an ABA company. So, with that, you would probably expect them to talk about, parent training. And in ABA, it's not as common to focus on that parent training piece.
Right.
So I've been just doing a lot more research on my own and kind of figuring it out, so that I can use that within, my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm an autism parent coach, that's extremely important to me. So when we look at parenting types, so I kind of break it down into two pieces. So we have parenting types and then we have parenting systems.
Mm-hmm.
So the parenting types or the parenting systems is your rules that you create. So every household has their own rules regardless if it's unspoken rules or spoken rules,
Mm-hmm.
or rules that they're not even, aware of just because of their history of learning. So when you talk about the parenting style, that is how you enforce those rules or follow through with those rules. So if we're just talking about the parenting styles, there's 3 different types. There's 4 different types, but I'm only going to talk about 3 because they're more relevant. So one of the parenting types are authoritative parenting. So there's authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. So when we're breaking down the different types and we kind of group them in categories based on responsiveness and demandingness. So responsiveness relates more to how you demonstrate sensitivity in your interactions with your kid. So what that means, if I were to interpret it in a way, how, just to make it a little bit easier to understand, is how do you respond to your child's feelings and your child's needs and your child's perspective, basically. And demandingness relates more to the parent's expectations of the child's behavior related to where they are developmentally. So, and that kind of refers to, say, if we're talking about a teenager. For a teenager, parents are going to have a specific amount of expectations versus a 5-year-old. Right. So looking at how we're categorizing the different parenting styles is based off of how responsive or how demanding parents are. So if we're looking at the authoritative parenting style, you have very high responsiveness and very high demandingness. So with that, you're placing demands based off of where they are within their maturity and within their developmental age. But you're also, responding to their needs as well. So I actually talked to my mom about this because it's funny seeing her parenting styles change when she raised myself and my siblings versus while she's raising my little brother. So it's a different shift. And my little brother has autism. None of my other siblings do, but it's just a really cool shift to see in her dynamic. But so with that, authoritative is more like a balance. You have certain expectations, but you're also sensitive to your child's need. So it doesn't, and you're not basically putting all of your children on the same level because they're never going to be on the same level.
Right.
So that's authoritative. Now, authoritarian is highly demanding and less responsive. So that typically means it's kind of like that you do it because I say you do it type of parenting style, or this is the rule and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, which this is the type of parenting style that my mom had, for us growing up. That's just how she learned to parent, in the Black community. It's very common to have that type of parenting style. You don't ask questions. You don't talk about.
I'm in between. Oh, this is so hard to make. I'm in between.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay because the way that we parent, there's no handbook on parenting. Right. So the way that we parent is how we were taught by our parents.
I think a lot of times for me, because I've been transparent with this, you guys, but I have dyslexia. So I actually had a negative teacher that was looking at me and said, I literally told me I was stupid in the classroom. And I guess with having a label, I am very aware sometimes that people will look at my daughter and say, oh, she has autism, so she's not capable of doing X, Y, and Z. So I do challenge her to the point that I want her later on to be independent, whatever independent it looks like to her. I don't want her to not try. And so I'm very drilling that on her, like, you have to learn how to try, baby, So like, for example, and I would say this before, you know, she will put one leg in her pants or one arm on her sleeve, and then she pretends like she'll know how to do the other leg or arm. And I'm like, Jasmine, if you learn how to do that side, then you can do the other side. You know, and it's like, you know, and her IEP, all that used to be asking for help. So then she was like, I want help after she done the other leg and the sleeve before. And so like that part is like, no, Jasmine, I know you can do this. You know, I'm here for you if you need me, but you have to learn how to do the second one, you know, and of course she'll do it. And sometimes it comes to a whining stage or whatever the case may be, over the simple fact that she has the arm in the other sleeve, like, I can't do this one, you know. But I definitely understand what you're saying. It's because I have experienced, you know, something that, you know, personally, I don't want that to be actually an excuse, or kind of like okay, let me push this aside because she has autism. That's just who I am, you know. So I'm in between those two stages. So I'm like, I'll kind of like wanted you to get in a little deep into that, because I think that, and I heard you say last week, you know, whoever you are, whatever type of parenting style you are, it's okay. But then kind of like, you know, shift it to your child or something like that. You were saying, you know, make sure that, you know, how you can use strategies for your, you know, with your child in guiding them or whatever. I think that's what you kind of said. I might have put some extra words in your mouth, but but I was like, okay, well, you know, that sounds really good. So I challenge her, but I also have been understanding and sensitive in the way that she, or who she is right now, because she actually has some negative response from, you know, teachers or whatever. And so I kind of know that was not a challenge environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what you're describing sounds more like the authoritarian parenting style, because you do have that balance.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, looking at, okay, you did that right arm independently. I know you can do that other arm. You can't just ask for help for everything. Like, you have to try first.
Right.
And I think that's the important part. So you're placing those demands on her based off of what she's capable of doing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not just, you know, you need to do it. You can't ask for help. You have to do it on your own because you're this age, so you have to do it. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like, I saw you do the other one. I see you do it all the time. So I'm not going to lower that expectation because I know you can, but you still can ask for help. I'm just going to have you try first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the style of coaching that I like to teach too. You're teaching your kids based off of what they're capable, but you're also sensitive to, today just might be a bad day. You know, you might have to help during this, you know, maybe they're sick. So even though they can put both arms in, you know, today you just might be able to kind of help them out. And that's okay.
Right.
So with the parenting styles, everyone is different. Everyone has different cultural rules. Everyone has their own rules that, you know, they learned growing up. So that is okay, as long as it's effective. If you're getting the outcome that you want and how your expectations are set up for your kids, then that's perfectly fine. You know, it's just, if you're trying something and it's not working and it's, you know, you're pulling your hair out because of it, it's probably time to do something different. Now, it doesn't mean you have to throw out your whole parenting style. It's just little tweaks and adjustments. So, yeah. And
that comes with, definitely, that comes with, again, I think the foundation is understanding the functions of behavior, and then the strategies and the tools, and you know, like I said, you guys, what we present here, we don't have all the answers. So if we have another group will come on, and you have another group that will talk about this or whatever, and you tie all of them together, you can use the strategies. But definitely, I recommend you drilling into your head about the four functions of behavior, because that will actually help you with the strategies. If, like you said, and the way that types of parenting, put those two together, the parenting and the functions of behavior and the strategies. Oh my goodness, life will be so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so serious. And again, I said this today, and to have some me time, whatever that me time looks like, that extra 5 minutes in the bathtub, that extra 5 minutes in the bed before you get up and okay, now I have to be a parent again. Yeah, that is that moment, because it will help you so much. And this is coming from a personal journey. I literally was talking to my mother today, and I was like, I have come a long way. She's like, yes, you have. But I'm so serious. Oh my goodness. So yes, continue, please.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say something about that too. So the way that I like to coach parents too is, you're not just a parent. And I think a lot of parents get lost in
Student.
that. And having a child with autism, you want to do everything you can for your kids so they're set up for success, but you cannot forget about you. So that's like huge in what where my values are and what I believe is going to be the most the key piece to helping you be a successful parent. You have to
Mm-hmm.
take care of yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those, like you said, those extra 5 minutes in the bathtub, if you
Yes.
have time, you take
Yes.
it.
And like I just said, a student is so important. Like right now, you guys, I am a student. I'm literally listening to Camille. I usually, actually, Jasmine usually watches with me on YouTube. It's so interesting. Um, like all the previous videos and today will be on YouTube, on next week, you guys, on Learning with Jasmine page. But it's so interesting how literally I am the student right now. I you know need help. Every day I'm continuously learning, and I'm continuously reading on articles, whatever. So I wanted to share like what I saw when Camille did her presentation, and I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, was it one more parenting?
Mhm.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So the last parenting style is the permissive parenting style. And that is um, high responsive and not in very low demandingness. So this is probably one of the most common parenting styles for parents who do have children with special needs, only because you have that like back and forth, well, do they need that extra support, or
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe it's hard for them. So a lot of the times you'll see super responsive to their needs and their emotions, but not really placing the demands at their level of where they can, so just a little bit lower than that. And I've seen that super common in the parents that I've worked with when we first start. And it's more like, I don't know what they're capable of. I don't know what they can and can't do. So if they're crying because they can't do something, I don't want to see my baby cry, and I just give in or I help them. And I always tell them that is okay. Like as a parent, you're doing the best you can. So like as I learned more about the parenting styles, I saw, oh, okay, well, this is the type of parenting style that, this parent might be following. Let's see what we can do to get them to where they want to be. So maybe that permissive parenting style isn't where they want to be, so maybe they do want to be able to place more demands so that they can promote independence with their kid. Maybe they want to be able, be there for their kid and have their kid depend on them, which that's okay too. Everyone has their own choice of what they want to do or how they want to parent, and that's totally fine. But yeah, so those are the three different parenting styles. I think it's really important to kind of just understand what they are, and then
Right.
it's easier to understand what your own parenting style is. So I always say knowledge is power. The more information you have, the better you're going to be. So
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you guys, Google, I say Google is your best friend when it come down to it. And, you can, Google the parent types of parenting, and it can give you a lot of more strategies or whatever. So let's go into that. The strategies, like, if can we go, for example, like, let's say a, a child is having a meltdown for whatever the for four functions of behavior is, based upon those three parenting styles. How would what does it look like? What can a parent do to support the child?
Yeah. So I always like to say it is always important to get that why right. Because if you do not get that why right, it doesn't matter what you do to try to intervene or, get your kid to stop having that meltdown. Because
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, you don't want to see your child in distress. You don't want to see them crying. Sometimes you have a headache and you're just like, I can't handle the crying today, whatever the situation
And
is.
that's when I'm like, here's your other arm, girl.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Exactly.
But
Exactly.
it's okay. It's okay.
It
I
is.
actually, learn to say it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so always getting that reason why is the most important so you know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. And whatever you're going to do, whatever strategy you're going to use, you want to use a strategy that's going to get them that same reason why, just in a more appropriate way. So if your kid is trying to, they want access to the iPad, they just want that iPad. So maybe they're on the floor, they're having a meltdown. Um, and maybe this day, you're just like, what, I don't have time for this. I'm just going to give in. So what I would say to give in is I would first, have them, okay, if you want the iPad, I just need you to use your words. So, stand up, ask for the iPad, you ask for it calmly, then you can have it. So rather
Mm-hmm.
than here, have whatever you want to get the meltdown to stop, get the meltdown to stop first, and then give them what they want and give them the tools to get that particular thing. So I always like to go back to that first then rule because it's so it's so underrated,
Mm-hmm.
especially when the reason why they're engaging in a behavior is because they want something tangible or they want to do a specific activity, which is pretty common. So if I want this iPad, you're having a meltdown on the floor, first I need you to stand up and say, "Can I have iPad?" Then you can have it. Or it could be, first I need you to wait until I find the charger, whatever the situation is, then you can have the iPad. Or first, I
Mm-hmm.
need you to sit on the couch. Just giving something really simple and easy in that moment that they can do without any help is going to be your best way to redirect them.
That transitioning stage is very
Yes,
important. Yes.
exactly. And it's not going to be 100% every single time. You might have to adjust. There
Mm-hmm.
might be a day, like I said before, if you're just not, mentally, physically ready to get through this meltdown, I always say give in right away. So don't wait until, you waited them out for 15 minutes and now it's like, okay, fine, just have it. Because what your kids are learning is I just have to melt down for 15 minutes, then I get what I want. So instead, as soon as the meltdown or as soon as you see
That body
those
language,
yes, those triggers that oh, meltdown's coming, I'd say give in right then and there.
right in the face with Jasmine. The face turns. I mean, like it's a different face. And I'm like, that's when now I'm like, all right, so baby, what's going on? Tell mommy, look at mommy. Look at mommy. What do you want? And right then and there, I nip in the butt like within 2 seconds.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Okay, but it like I see the face, the tense body, everything. I think is definitely important to kind of observe your child. Yes.
Yes, finding those patterns. Those patterns. I mean, and as a parent, you already know your kids' triggers. You already
Mm-hmm.
know what's going to happen. You start learning that when they're very young and you're nursing and you're figuring, oh, that's, they're wet or that's a hungry cry. So you're
Right.
already picking up those patterns, when they're younger. It's the same thing when they're older. What are their triggers? If especially this is going to cause a meltdown, what can I do to plan so that this meltdown isn't as intense? no, I do like to say don't always avoid the meltdown. If you're like, I need you to, it's just unavailable. I just
Mhm.
need you to do this particular thing. There's going to be those days where, like, if you can't have the candy in the store because I left my wallet at home, there's no absolute way that you can get them that candy. So it's like, you're just probably going to have to deal with that tantrum. But there's also strategies to use if that, meltdown does happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mentioned this like last week, you guys. It's just interesting because you just said it, and I just remember this. It's like last week, I made potatoes. She loved potatoes. I didn't have no ketchup, and she asked for ketchup, and I said, I don't have any ketchup. I just knew it was gonna come, and she looked at me. This is beginning to be like a look. I'm like, oh my goodness. She's like, just like me. I'll be beginning to have a look. And then she continued eating her food, but then she asked again. And I was like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble as a mom. I'm in trouble. I don't have any ketchup. So I had to tell her, I had to give her a choice at that time. I had to say, okay, well, you either eat the potatoes without the ketchup or you can not have the potatoes, you know. And she ate the potatoes without the ketchup with no tantrums, nothing, no issues, whatever. But that was that moment. Could I do anything? No, like you were saying, I'm sorry, I don't have my wallet with me. I don't have any ketchup. So it was like, how am I going to give in to her when I have no ketchup? And so I had to like, okay, well, obviously this is not the way it's planned. So I had to just give her a choices, and that's the reality of it. And I'm glad she ate her potatoes. But it was like drilled in my head that, okay, you cannot have potatoes in the house with no ketchup. That's not, it's not gonna happen anymore. So yeah, like that's a good example of that. There's some things that you just cannot control. And so there there needs to be like, the next plan for that.
Yeah, definitely. And choices are underrated too. There's so many different, I have learned the science of choices, let me tell you. So even in that situation, like I probably give that choice too. Do you want potatoes with no ketchup, or do you want potatoes with mustard? And it's like, ew,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna eat potatoes with mustard. I'm gonna eat
Well,
this.
I had any, none of, I had none of,
Mayonnaise, barbecue sauce.
so I was like messed up. I was in trouble with Jasmine. But I'm glad she ate her potatoes and she ate
Mhm.
all her rest of the food first. But it was interesting how, like, it could have been like 6 months ago, it would have been different. It would have been of a major meltdown. Um, and so yeah, it's definitely have come along. We have both come along.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I could tell you so many stories about, my mom's interaction with my little brother compared to how she interacted when we were younger. And
Mhm.
sometimes I just look at her like, yep, you can't do it anymore, huh? And she's just kind of like, oh, and she'll laugh about it because it's just so funny. But I tell my mom all the time, like, I'm so proud of you as a mom. Like, I know you've raised 5 kids on your own, and then now
Wow.
you're raising my little brother, and he has autism. It's a whole different ball game,
It's
and
a
she
whole
has
different world.
she has switched up her parenting style so much, but also my little brother responds to it so well, and he is such a good kid. So
How old is your brother?
he's 8.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we did foster care when we were younger, and we actually got him when he was 2 months old. And I started to notice some of the characteristics of autism when he was 10 months, which is super early. You don't get a diagnosis that early.
Mhm.
But 2 years later, we ended up adopting him, and then he didn't get the diagnosis until he was 4.
Mhm.
But just seeing my mom, her whole entire everything just shifted into a whole. My youngest sister, she's 22 now, and she's like, well, I didn't get to do that when I was little. And my mom's just like looking at her, and we'll just joke about it. But yeah, it's just amazing, honestly. So I give parents a lot of props because it takes a lot to, you know, change up everything you've learned,
Right.
basically. So
Right. Yeah, and so this is how Learning with Jasmine came about. I was very stressed, you guys, and so this has very been helpful. Okay, so we're gonna move on to understanding follow through, and motivation.
yeah, so for this one, motivation is probably the most important part because if we just look at like human behavior, you don't ever want to do something that you're not motivated to do. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to do something that you're just like, I have no motivation to do that. And that's just the same with our kids. So there's two different parts of motivation. So there could be a lack of motivation, or it could be there's not, you know, there's a very big need for that particular thing. So they're going to be more motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I always like to use like a water example because it's super easy to understand. But if I just drank a whole jug of water, and someone asks me, you know, do you want to stand in line to get a free bottle of water? I'm probably going to have no motivation to stand in that long line, even though it's free, because I just drank a whole bottle of water, right? I don't want that water. There's nothing I can do. But if I just went, you know, I had a really hard workout and I had to go to the grocery store right after, and I forgot my water at home. There's a long line, but there's free water. You better believe I will be in that line trying to get that water because it's free. I don't have to, you know, my motivation for standing in that line is very high. I'm more likely to do it.
That's some good example. That's a good, yes.
Yeah. So then when we're thinking about like our kids and we're looking at what things kind of motivate them to do things, because there's always going to be something they don't want to do. We want to look at that motivation. Where is their motivation? So I guarantee if you found one package of ketchup in your house and you were like, I need you to go pick up your toys in the living room, put them in the box, she would probably get up, run, and go put those toys in the box, no question, sit back at the table and get her ketchup, right? So her motivation for that ketchup super, super high. So when we're just thinking about having our kids do the things that they don't want to do, you want to make sure that before you present that thing, do I have their motivation? Is this going to be a fight to do it? If it is, I need a very high motivator for that particular thing.
See, for Jasmine, it is her songs. She has to have a computer. She has to have, and it's interesting because, like, okay, y'all, here's my transparent moment. So like 3 months ago, her ABA therapist like, you know, I motivate her, whatever. Now, I'm from the old school moment. My mother was like, you do your schoolwork and then you play. Okay. So here comes the session, and they're doing songs first. They're doing Let It Go, Frozen. No, I can't stand that song. Like, that song plays every single day. But that's her motivation song to get going. And I was like, hold up, wait, are y'all doing that before the schoolwork, before y'all get into, yeah, oh yeah, that's motivating. And I'm like, no, can y'all switch it? And she's like, she gonna push back. There gonna be more issues at home. Oh no, it's not. Oh no, no. It did. It was a tough moment. And I was like, can you unswitch it? And so now when we homeschool her, there is a song. I give her 5 minutes to do whatever song she wants. Then we do one lesson of a subject, and then we do another 5 minutes, and she can do whatever song she wants and do another lesson. And there has been no issues, and she could do like maybe 6 or 8 lessons in maybe in 90 minutes because there's motivation. So that for me You guys, it works. I have
Yeah.
come to the realization. I was like, okay, can you unswitch that? Let's do this. Her transitioning for the past week has been okay, here's a timer, 5 more minutes. Okay, 3 more minutes before we have to do more schoolwork. Okay, 1 more minute. Today, it was like maybe 50 seconds before the break was over. She stopped her video on her own and she went to her classwork. She did her classwork and she got on her classwork and she was like, Mommy, I did it with no issues. That's what she said, no issues. I was like, look at you, but yes, motivation is awesome.
Yeah, and that beginning part is you want to find, that's how you'll find that motivation. Let me test
Mm-hmm.
it. So let me play a little bit of this song. Is this what she's into right now, or is this song what she's into? So that's where that, like, let me find it first. Let her get a little bit of a taste for it, and then
Right.
it's like, okay, you want more of this? First,
Yes.
got to do your
Yes.
schoolwork, then you can have more song.
Yes.
And with music, it's such an easy, like, item to use because there's so many variations. You can stop, pause, you can
Right.
watch it, especially if she loves that song over and over. I can't tell you how many sessions I've had with kids where I probably learned the song by the end of the session because we played it so many times.
Yes. Frozen every single day. Let it go and whatever else stuff that she watches. But yes, that definitely following, understanding through, following through, and motivation. So let's say we only have a few more minutes, but any quick example with following through and motivation that you would like to cover?
Yeah. So one thing that I would say about, like, I've kind of already talked about it a little bit. When you're in that moment where you've kind of learned, oh, I have to follow through. So it's extremely important to follow through when you have to follow through, because whatever that follow through looks like is the pattern that your kids are going to operate under. So if you're kind of like, okay, well, I need you to do this thing, or bedtime is at 8 o'clock, and then your kids, now it's 8:30, now it's 9 o'clock, now it's 10 o'clock. Then when it's time, that next time, okay, it's bedtime, and there's such a fight, that follow through isn't consistent. So the pattern that they're operating under is, well, sometimes you let me stay up until 9. So it's extremely important to follow through when it's necessary, but it doesn't have to be so rigid. So it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be, I'm watching my favorite TV show or listening to my favorite song and it just started. Sorry, it's 8 o'clock. You got to turn it off and you have to go to bed. So instead, it can be, having that, okay, it's 8 o'clock. As soon as you pause it, or you can say, do you want to finish this song first and then we can go to bed? Or, giving that choice, we can turn it off and go to bed. Like, what is your choice? I want to finish the song. Okay, even though it's 8:03, 8:05, you're still following through, but it's not so much of a fight.
Right. Right.
So not being so rigid on that follow through, but also following through.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot about the follow through that is so, a lot of parents think, well, I have to fight with them every single time because I already said what I said and I have to follow through. Now, while that may be important, how effective is it? Are you exhausted from fighting with them every single time you have to? Is there a little
Probably
adjustment that
so.
you can make? Yeah.
Right.
To still follow through, but everyone's getting what they want. And that's what I kind of look at. What is going to be most effective? So not
Right.
necessarily throwing the hammer down. It's going to be this way. There's no other way. I have to follow through. Because it's like, okay, if you do that, then you have to follow through, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to
Mm-hmm.
be in that middle of the meltdown with them. It's exhausting for both. It's not fun for anyone.
It's actually
So
worse for us
exactly.
because I've learned that and I remember when you were doing your presentation last week and I said about global delay and Autism Us. I actually will be on Autism Us page next week doing a presentation and she's like, oh, I want you to go cover global delay. But global delay is children who feeds off people's energy or their environment. And so as she is like, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm like, sweating myself out, right? And it actually feels great for her, even though she's having that meltdown, because she's releasing whatever she is releasing, any sensory issues. So, okay, I feel that mommy is frustrated. So now I'm going to release myself, which basically I'm doing the flapping, I'm doing the pulling, I'm doing the biting, I'm doing the throwing, I'm whatever the case may be, because I feel that mommy is frustrated, you know? And so I'm going to release myself. And then within a second, she's smiling and singing and playing. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, you just wrestled me onto the ground. Like, really? But I had to get a point that someone told me on here. They said, children, no matter who it is, feed off of their energy. But people with children who have a global delay, it's a very strong hold. And so I had to, that me time moment, I had to breathe before I even address any situation that was going on. And so now, because I know the 4 functions, I know what it looks like in her face, I know how the strategies, I can just like go around the corner and just, oh no, I got you, you guys, I got, whatever it is. And that's how her behavior has decreased about 90%. You guys, it is very important to take the moment to evaluate ourselves. Very important. If something is irritating us, or we don't understand and we're getting anxiety, they're feeding off of our energy. It's so important to evaluate ourselves and, it's okay. I learned it's okay to address the situation after 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes down the line, just to make sure that their child is okay. I know that you feel frustrated, and then later on talk about the behavior, and I have said, I really didn't like you pulling mommy's hair. Oh, okay, mommy, I'm sorry. And we hug it out, we kiss out, we laugh it out, and then we go around our business, because I'm not going to hold her to what happened 5 months ago to now. It's an everyday, throughout the day type of thing. So I just wanted to point into that.
Yeah, definitely. And that understanding is what makes you an amazing mother. So keep at it.
Thank you. It's a continuous thing.
It is.
It's continuous thing. Okay, so Camille, I definitely want to give you at a time, you guys. I make sure that individuals who have a business to promote their business and kind of go into that. It's a collaboration thing. And so this is your time to share. And at the end, Camille, once everything done, if you can put your information down on the comments below. Any questions, you guys, that you have for Camille will be, posted, please, or directly email her. I will not answer. So it's Camille and you. And so thank you for Camille for your time. So you can talk about your business.
Okay, so I am an autism parent coach. So I kind of got this idea because I've worked in the field of ABA for so long, and I've worked for different companies, and there's always that middleman that worked directly with the kid, not the supervisor. So I decided to do something different and work directly with the parents. So we can kind of cut out that middleman. The parents are learning all the strategies so that when I'm not there, parents know exactly what to do. So I've opened enrollment for my 90-day autism parent coaching. I don't really know what to call it exactly, but it's a 90-day program. That's the word I was looking for. And it's called the Parent System Update. So you'll get weekly one-on-one coaching calls. I give you action plans, so things to work on, super simple and easy strategies to use that work for your kid. And you also have access to a Voxer app, so that we can communicate during the week. So even though we're not having our one-on-one session at that moment in teaching, if something's going on, I'm in the middle of a tantrum, I'm using the strategies, it's not working, what can I do? So that I'm available as well. And then everything that I create for you and your family, we come up with it together. So it's like a collaboration so that you're learning exactly the process that I would use to create the plan for you. So then, you know, after the 90 days, you know exactly what to do. If something new comes up, I know the strategies to use. I know what strategies to use for this particular thing, and I can do it on my own. So that's what I do. I have an Instagram page and a Facebook business page, Camille Renee BCBA. Same for both. And you guys can come and hang out with me. And I love to meet you and get to know you guys. So yeah. And if you want to reach me via email, cr@Camille Renee BCBA.
Yes, and Camille, you definitely will put your information on there. Again, you guys, this has been just a part one. We will talk about part two. I told you guys it would be awesome. All right, so tomorrow at 3:15 in Eastern Standard Time, you guys, Learning with Jasmine, we will have Tiffany Joseph. She is actually a mom who has autism, and her children have autism too. So this is going to be her story and her inviting us into her home and basically, you know, talking to her and for her to talk to us and definitely encourage one another. You guys, it's been awesome. Thank you, Camille, for your time, and definitely replay, you guys, this, share it, you know, copy and paste the link. And if you're interested, definitely talk to Camille. If you have any questions, you can comment below and Camille will answer it accordingly. All right. So again, you guys, I told you this video was great. This is great. So, and until then, you guys, I will see you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.